Welcome back to the Wall Street Podcast. Today, we're doing a targeted deep dive into a new Goldman Sachs equity research report. Just came out, September 11th, 2025, titled China Healthcare, U.S.-China Drug Out Licensing News Flow, Implications and Scenario Analysis. So the report really digs into potential U.S. regulatory shifts affecting these China-U.S. pharma licensing deals and the wider market fallout. It touches on potential oversight of China-invented drugs, what's driving China's innovation, and maybe shifts in global partnerships, focusing on near-term risks.
And the timing here is key, isn't it? The report flags a New York Times article from just yesterday, September 10th.
Right. That article laid out a draft executive order from the Trump administration. What's proposed there, and, well, where does it stand now?
Okay, so the draft LEO seems to target these China-invented drug pipelines in two ways. First, potentially stricter scrutiny on U.S. pharma licensing deals coming from China using the CFI-US framework.
CFI-US Committee on Foreign Investment, looking at national security risks.
Exactly. And second, possibly higher regulatory hurdles for clinical data generated in China. Now, a White House spokesperson did say the EO is, quote, not active.
Not active, okay. But still.
But it definitely introduces headline risk, potential price volatility for the China biotech sector.
So we have these potential regulatory headwinds. Yet we've also seen really significant growth in China's biotech out-licensing. How do those pieces fit? What's driving this structural upside they mention? And how have U.S. firms benefited?
Well, China's structural advantage comes from a few things.
Yeah.
A growing early-stage pipeline, getting to proof of concept faster and cheaper, and accumulating R&D know-how.
And that fits with Big Pharma's needs.
Perfectly. It aligns directly with global pharma needing solutions for major patent cliffs hitting around 2027, 2028. U.S. pharma has actually been the biggest beneficiary so far. We're talking 52% of total deal value, 43% of deal count from 2023 through year-to-date 2025. The EU is next, but the U.S. is clearly leading.
Interesting. Which brings us to a key question. How might this potential policy change affect the types of drugs being licensed, especially given where China seems to be innovating?
That's a critical point. The EO, if enacted, could really limit the pool of innovative drugs for U.S. companies, particularly in these emerging new modalities like ADCs.
Antibody drug conjugates, the smart bombs.
Right, and bispecific antibodies.
Yeah.
Things where China's been making strides. U.S. partners might face tougher CFI-US reviews, which could slow down proving clinical differentiation for these advanced therapies.
Okay, so given these dynamics, these potential policy shifts, what are the immediate implications for deal-making and for the valuations of these Chinese biotech firms?
We could anticipate potentially more selective asset licensing, maybe a shift towards non-U.S. partners too. The report handily groups Chinese companies into three buckets based on near-term share price risk.
Okay, what are they?
First, you've got companies with an established global presence like ONC, LGN. The report suggests limited impact there because their global footprints are already strong.
Makes sense.
Second, firms with strong existing global partners. Think Kelun Biotech, 3Bio. Less impacted, especially for assets already licensed out, like MSD running 14 global phase 3 trials for SACTMT.
Got it. And the third group?
That's companies with high BD expectation, but to close a major deal. Innovent, ZLab are examples. For them, the thinking is they might actually accelerate deal closures, try to lock things in before any new restrictions bite to capture that go global potential.
Right, this idea of deal front-loading, what does that actually look like in practical terms for the companies and for investors watching them?
So deal front-loading really means a potential rush, an acceleration of licensing agreements because companies feel that window of opportunity might be closing. If you have a promising pipeline but haven't inked that U.S. partnership yet, you might hurry to finalize it.
To get ahead of potential hurdles.
Exactly. And that flurry of activity or the pressure to do it could certainly impact near-term valuations.
So how are investors valuing these companies now, especially that go global story with these regulatory question marks hanging over it?
It's a key question for investors. The report shows that for many of these companies, particularly the small to mid caps, that go global value often seems quite discounted compared to their market cap or their China value.
Meaning the market is skeptical.
It suggests market skepticism, yes, about whether that international potential will fully materialize. Investors are watching very closely, how much is already baked into the price versus the potential upside if a big deal does close.
Stepping back from the market mechanics for a moment, how might all these high-level talks on drug licensing, geopolitics, actually affect the average person? How does it filter down to daily life for you listening?
Well, the implications are quite tangible. If drug approvals become more complex or delayed, especially for innovative treatments, say in oncology or immunology, that could impact how quickly new medicines become available to patients globally.
So slower access to potentially life-saving drugs.
Potentially, yes. It also influences R&D investment decisions by pharma companies. It might shift their focus, which in turn affects the pipeline of future therapies available down the road.
It really underscores the complex web connecting geopolitics, innovation, and market forces in healthcare. Looking ahead then, considering these evolving regulations, what do you see as the most critical indicator for the success of these cross-border drug collaborations over the next, say, 12 to 18 months?